It started off in the area, and then it spread to the internet, and then things got really bad. If you pull up to this particular house in Yucapaya, you're driving your car, you park in front of it, and a bunch of people come out of the house. Now you're thinking, that's not unusual. And so it's funny because it's so mundane, but at the same time, it's very, very bizarre when you kind of step back and think about it. People will drive up to this house and park outside the house, and then a bunch of people come outside the house. That's the story. That's the story. That's the story of Yucapaya. They're technically called the Yucapaya Watchers. So that makes it sound like really sinister, but that's it. You drive in front of a house, and people come out. And so if someone just said, hey dude, did you know that if you drive down this spooky street during the day, in the middle of the day, and park in someone else's parking spot, someone's gonna come out of the house? You'd be like, that's the dumbest urban legend I've ever heard. But the reason why Andrew sent this to me, it's because these guys don't just come out of their house. They come out like 4 or 5 deep and begin screaming at people in their cars. So there's tons of YouTube videos of people, just dumb kids driving in front of this house and they just park. And then like 4 dudes come barreling out of the house. They're all like Donkey Kong. They're like, get out of here, bro. So they've made themselves into a target for people to just park the car any time of the day. And that's why they call the Watchers. They don't just watch, but they know when you're there. People are like, we think they have cameras. Probably. But it's one of those things. I mean, again, they've made themselves a target for people parking in their front yard, which seems so... Not even in the front yard. They're not driving up on the grass. They're like, oh, my petunias. It's like they just parked the car. The problem is it's gotten to the point where people in the neighborhood are like, hey, look at these local weirdos. Like in Bay Area, I've talked about him, crazy schizophrenic hobo who just rapped all the time. Local legend. But in Yucapaya, you have people going, hey man, those guys, they run out of their house when you're parked. And then people started doing it on YouTube, and then people started coming from all over California to videotape themselves. I'm surprised Jake Paul hasn't done a video with these guys yet. It's become this thing. And they call the cops all the time. So now you run the risk of being arrested for parking your car. And this was a total flashback for me. I read this short story. I watched a couple videos about the Yucapaya Watchers, and then I read this story. Try to make it shorter. Let's see how long this goes. I don't know how many of you heard of the Yucapaya Watchers, but don't ever go there. They were pretty famous on YouTube. Here's legend, that's their word. Legend has it, if you go by there anytime day or night, the people who live there will come out of the house and confront you and talk. Beep that up. People listen to the show at work. Me and my friends went there, and just like they say, they immediately come outside. It was 2 a.m, so the beep started walking to the vehicle with a flash light. I really shouldn't make fun of people's spelling because of my pronunciations, but a flash light shone on us, that's misspelled too, and started talking. Beep. He took down our plate and called the cops. I guess. I probably could have read that more smooth. He took down our plate and called the cops, I guess, and we got pulled over on our way back to the freeway. The officer said she knew we were at the Watchers and knew we filmed it and blah, blah, so they checked us. This is my favorite part. This reminded me of me being in my 20s. I love it. It just had just put a smile on my face when I read this last sentence. So they checked us all and looked for any excuse to arrest us since driving by a house isn't really illegal. Long story short, my friend had 1 Tylenol 3 on him that he doesn't have a prescription for, so they arrested him. Don't ever effing go there. Now, I'm not happy that the kid got arrested, obviously, but I remember being such a stupid knucklehead kid and just doing dumb stuff, and you'd be driving with your buddies, and the one kid has a single pill. I don't know. That's so funny. Just such a flashback to what people do as kids that are idiots. So yes, I think the moral of the story is don't go to the Yucapaya Watchers. Don't have prescriptions, even a single pill on you, if you're going to do something semi-legal. But so the legend is that the Yucca watchers are like satanic cult or they're meth dealers, like they have something to protect. I just think they're weirdos who have attracted more weirdness to them because of the way they react stuff. So thank you, Andrew, for the recommendation, but looking into it, I don't think there's anything sinister going on. I just think they're lunatics. For legal reasons, alleged lunatics who have, like, maybe they think they're gang stalked, but the thing is like every time they react in a crazy way, more and more people want to go out there because they see these crazy videos. So it keeps going on. The legend that I think is going to happen is they're going to end up shooting somebody, or there's going to be a serious fight because the people drive away real quick when they get nearby. They're like, man, that was close. Everyone take their Tylenol 3. Oh, it feels so groovy now. Driving away. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting local legend, and because of things like YouTube, it's become far, far more popular. I mean, like, sometimes you can engage in behavior that makes you more likely to become an urban legend like the Yucca people. Okay, so we're driving away from Yucca. They're chasing us down the street. I'm like, oh, good thing I still have all this pain medication on me. You're like, Jason, no, you're driving. I'm like, well, you take the wheel. I'm just going to lay in the back seat for a while and be constipated. And you're like, where are we going, Jason? I just can't drive the Jason Jalopy wherever I want. Or can I? And you try to take it back in time, but I'm like, no, don't do that. Only I can activate the magical powers of the Jason Jalopy. We are going to Casablanca. And you're like, yes, play it again, Sam? No. We're going to Casablanca in 1955. You're like, yes. Is that when the movie came out? I'm like, no. Actually, I don't know when that movie came out. It might come out in 1955. No. We're going to Casablanca, California. So we're almost there. We're going to Riverside County. So go ahead, hit that button right there. Take us back to the year 1955. The car does not sound that smooth. It actually sputters and barely gets us to 1955 Casablanca, California. And I'm going to tell you a story. It was a beautiful day in the neighborhood. 2 p.m. Kids are out playing, flying kites, eating apples, having fun. And there's a group of 8 kids wrestling. Well, technically only 2 of them are wrestling, but the other 6 were like, fight, fight, fight. And we have a dude named Kermit Douglas. His body's all oiled up, ready to go. And then an unnamed kid who I'm imagining is wearing like a unitard. He's like, come get some, big chest hair. They're wrestling in Kermit's yard. And then they hear a ping. Kids look up in the sky. And they see a dome, like a silvery, it was like silvery and translucent dome in the sky. And it goes ping, disappears. And then they hear a ping. And they see what looks like a flying saucer, but it's flying sideways. So it's like stationary, but it looks like a circle in the sky. And they said they could see light bending around the edges of it. At this point, Kermit's like, come on, let's go. Everyone else is looking at these things. Kermit's like, what? He looks up, sees it, and he's like, oh, better stop wrestling. Bing! Disappears. Bing! The dome appears. Bing! Disappears. Bing! Sideways flying saucer appears. Bing! Disappears. And the 2 vehicles start going ping, 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 appearing and disappearing in front of these kids. Now, one of the kids is like, this is not good. I'm out. And he runs away, and he runs home, and he tells, Mom, there's some stuff pinging out there. You gotta come out and see what's in the sky. Now, of course, she's probably like, oh, great, got into his dad's acid again. But she's like, looks out the window, she's like, I don't see nothing. And the kid's like, aw, Mom. He runs back to join his friends to see if this is still going on. Hey, so what happened with those UFO things? And the kids go, in unison, all 7 of them go, no, just joking. They go, they went away. You ran to go tell your parents, and then they just disappeared. And the kid's like, oh, shucks. What do you want to do now? You want to kick the can? And then, ping, the dome appears again. Ping. And they start alternating again, and the kids are like, oh, okay. Now this is creepy. Because at the first point, they're thinking, oh, maybe we're seeing something wrong. Maybe it's a UFO. But once a kid went to go tell their parent and it went away, it's almost like a stranger in the bushes, like, hey, you want to come play with me? I'm going to go tell my mom. And then he, like, leaves, gets in his van, drives away. But then you come back and you're like, oh, Mom doesn't care. You go back, he crawls back in the bushes. That's creepy. So the fact that he left to go tell his parents made it stop. They're like, oh, it's kind of stranger danger, right? And they didn't have stranger danger back then. Lights are blinking, ships are coming in and out of existence. And then they see the dome ship go 1950s sound effects. It's like bobbling like it's attached to a string. They see it land in a football field about a half block from Kermit's house and just goes, It's hovering about 3 feet off the ground. So they're like, come on, guys, Goonies never quit, or whatever that stupid saying is. They start never say die, whatever. They're running through the yard to get to where the dome is, and then they see it. They all turn to their left or right, it doesn't matter. It's by Kermit's house. They see an alien. And they describe this alien as this. It had like a roundish head, like a normal head, big red round eyes, taking up a good portion of its face. A big red round mouth. It didn't have a nose. It had 4 little dots kind of spaced around its cheeks, and they said they shimmered like diamonds. It had arms, little arms moving around, but it had no legs. Its body actually tapered off like Casper the Ghost. So I know what you're thinking at this point. Jason, this is kind of creepy, and it's quite bizarre. We haven't even gotten started yet. So they're looking at this Casper ghost just kind of floating there, wavy arms, just kind of hovering there, right? It's wearing a belt, like all ghosts. It has to have a fashion accessory. It has this belt with a giant, like, mirror-type piece of metal on it. Super bright. The kids are like, oh, I can't see. And then one of the kids in the group is, like, looking at the alien, and he's like, that's nothing. He looks at the dome UFO in the football field. And he goes, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And he starts walking towards the domed UFO. And everyone's staring at this ghost. He's not a ghost, whatever it was, alien ghost, maybe the ghost of an alien, who knows. Anyways, this thing's floating around the corner there, and everyone's staring at that. One kid leaves the group, starts walking over there. 2 of the older kids see what's going to happen, see him walking towards the ship. They have to run, they have to tackle the kid. They can't keep him from walking towards the ship. Once they tackle him, multiple UFOs begin appearing in the neighborhood. Bing, 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 bing. One lands on a nearby roof of a house. One knocks off the branch of a tree, a walnut tree to be specific. And then one seems to fly by and shoot out some sort of ray. Now, at this point, the kids are screaming out loud, because they've seen the alien guy hanging around the corner. They've had to tackle one of their buddies. All these things are blinking in and out of existence. Their parents and other people in the neighborhood come out to see what's going on. And they don't see anything. They don't see a little ghost man. Mommy, no, there's a guy over there. He has a weird belt buckle. It's blinding me. She looks over there. It's a shrub with a shiny ant on it. She's like, oh, that's just an ant. They don't see the UFOs flying around. They don't see the landed UFO. They just see their kids, like, freaking out in the front yard. The parents have no idea what they're looking at. But these UFOs are bing, 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 flying all around. Dudes are getting tackled. Kermit's ready to wrestle an alien. All the kids are freaking out. And then one of the kids turns around. And you got all this chaos going around, right? He turns around, and out of thin air, he sees an arm, just like cut off at the shoulder. It's like the rest of the body's invisible, and there's just an arm reaching out of reality, and it's beckoning him towards it. It'd be like if you cut a hole through a curtain and stuck your arm through it, but that curtain happened to be existence. And it wasn't an alien arm, it wasn't a human arm, it was a metallic armored arm. And it's just beckoning a child over towards it. Now, there's drawings of the arm, and what it reminded me of is, you know how we'll put because we're not professionals, but you know how professionals will put their arms in those things to kind of control, like, radioactive isotopes and, like, move aids from one vial to another. They have to use, like, those mechanical arms. Or they at least put their hands in gloves, and you know, like you see them in movies where they're, like, reaching into a box. That's what it looked like, but it was this, like, metal sleeve over an arm with fingers beckoning the kid over. He doesn't go. He's just like, I'm not going over there. The arm's like, snaps its fingers. It's like, dang it. He disappears. A dude appears in the field, and other kids looking out in the field, and there's just some guy. Now there's just some random, normal-looking human walk. He was called a strange man, so he wasn't one of the ghost guys. This is all happening in the middle of the afternoon, by the way. There's a man walking around now by the UFO. He pulls out 2 guns. He goes, choo, choo, doesn't make the noises. Actually shoots 2 kids.